Remember when gaming was that weird teenager trying way too hard to be cool? The mid-2000s weren't just about PS2 dominating living rooms or Xbox 360 going mainstream. It was gaming's painful puberty. While the industry exploded from $7 to $20 billion, marketing teams were having a full-on identity crisis. Are we high art or are we edgelords? Spoiler alert, many chose poorly. As Steam changed how we bought games and social media changed how we talked about them, some marketing geniuses decided memorable meant possibly criminal. So buckle up for gaming's most spectacular marketing fails, campaigns so misguided they make Cyberpunk's launch look competent. From actual dead animals to fake hostage situations, these stunts cross the line between attention-grabbing and court summoning. The escalation gets wilder with each example. Let's dive in. The God of War 2 Dead Goat Incident, 2007. God of War 2 launched in March 2007 as the sequel to Sony's 2005 hit that had sold over 4.6 million copies worldwide. This action-adventure franchise was one of Sony's flagship exclusive series during the PlayStation 2 era, when the console dominated the market with a 70% share. For context, the original God of War had received Game of the Year awards from multiple publications and helped define the hack-and-slash genre with its cinematic presentation and combat mechanics. For those unfamiliar with the series, you play as Kratos, a former Spartan warrior seeking vengeance against the Greek gods. The franchise was deliberately positioned as mature entertainment, with the ESRB rating specifically citing intense violence, blood and gore, nudity and sexual content. This positioning wasn't accidental. By 2007, the average gamer was 33 years old according to ESA data, and publishers were increasingly targeting adult audiences. Sony, capitalizing on the PS2's market dominance, by then having sold over 120 million units, organized a launch party in Athens, Greece, to promote God of War II's mythological theme. According to reports from British gaming media, including the company's own official PlayStation magazine, the event featured a decapitated goat carcass as centerpiece decoration. This occurred during a period when marketing departments were specifically targeting the 18-34 male demographic through increasingly provocative campaigns, a trend documented by industry analysts as gaming sought to distance itself from its family-friendly image. Yes, an actual dead goat, not a cake shaped like a goat, not a piñata filled with game codes, a once-living creature, now centerpiece at a PlayStation media gathering. The Mail on Sunday reported guests were invited to reach inside the goat's still-warm carcass to eat offal. Sony later clarified this was merely a traditional meat soup served in bowls. Skeptical, you know your marketing has gone wrong when, no, we weren't making journalists fondle goat intestines, is your damage control. The official PlayStation magazine then decided to publish uncensored photos of the goat, forcing Sony to recall 80,000 magazines. Cost of bizarre goat party, substantial. Cost of emergency magazine recall, massive. Creating a scenario where Sony slaughtered for dead goat stunt becomes an actual headline, priceless. Lesson learned. Just because your game features Greek mythology doesn't mean you need to recreate ancient sacrificial rituals. Maybe stick to columns and togas next time. Aftermath. Sony Computer Entertainment Europe's managing director Ray Maguire issued a formal apology, stating, "It has come to our attention that at the God of War II launch event, an element of the event was of an unsuitable nature. We recognize that the use of a dead goat was inappropriate and offensive. We apologize to anyone offended by the event." The company recalled approximately 80,000 copies of the official PlayStation magazine UK that contained images of the event. According to industry reports, the incident led Sony to implement more rigorous oversight of regional marketing events. The case has since been featured in marketing ethics courses at several universities as an example of promotional boundaries. Splinter Cell, Conviction's Armed Standoff 2010. Splinter Cell. Conviction represents a significant historical case study in franchise repositioning. Released in April 2010 after 2 years of delays and a complete redesign, the game marked Ubisoft's attempt to revitalize a series that had sold over 13 million units, but was facing increasing competition in the stealth genre. The previous entry, Double Agent 2006, had underperformed relative to expectations, selling approximately 1.8 million copies, a decline from earlier entries. For context, the Splinter Cell franchise follows Sam Fisher, a covert operative who specializes in stealth missions. The series had been known for its methodical gameplay that rewarded patience and non-lethal approaches. After numerous production challenges documented in industry press, Conviction significantly altered this formula with more action-oriented mechanics and a revenge-driven narrative that reflected industry trends toward more accessible gameplay. This marketing incident occurred during a documented shift in gaming promotion. By 2010, digital marketing spending in the industry had increased by 32% compared to 2008, while print media advertising had declined by nearly 20%. Market research from the period shows publishers increasingly sought earned media through publicity stunts rather than traditional advertising. In April 2010, Monaco Corporation, Ubisoft's New Zealand marketing partner, organized a promotion in Auckland that went dramatically wrong. According to police reports and news coverage in the New Zealand Herald, an actor dressed in black with bandaged hands entered the Degree bar wielding what appeared to be a real firearm, pointing it at patrons while mimicking the game's protagonist. Unsurprisingly, when someone points a gun at unsuspecting civilians enjoying their Friday drinks, they don't think, "Oh, this must be promoting Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell." Conviction, available April 13th for Xbox 360 and PC. They think, "I'm going to die in a pub while holding a half-finished pint." Police responded with actual officers carrying actual guns, only discovering the weapon was plastic after they'd already seized it from the actor. In a country where even police don't routinely carry firearms, this was the equivalent of setting off fireworks in an oxygen tent, catastrophically misjudging the environment. If you're wondering whether this actually helped sell the game, Conviction did end up selling nearly 2 million copies worldwide. But it's hard to imagine the threat of actual violence promotion was the deciding factor for most buyers. Lesson learned: if your marketing plan includes the phrase "realistic-looking weapon," just delete the entire document and start over. Speaking of deleting marketing plans, sometimes it's not weapons that cause chaos, but something seemingly innocent, like free stuff. This brings us to our next marketing disaster that traded fake guns for real fuel. Mercenaries 2's Fuel Giveaway, 2008. Mercenaries 2: World in Flames was an open-world action game where players took on the role of mercenaries in Venezuela during a fictional oil crisis. Think Grand Theft Auto with more explosions and less strip clubs. The game featured a memorable commercial jingle with the lyrics, "Oh no, you didn't," that was arguably more popular than the game itself. EA offered $40,000 worth of free gasoline from a single London gas station to promote the game's warfare over Venezuelan oil facilities. Apparently, no one on the marketing team had ever witnessed what happens when you offer anything for free, let alone a valuable commodity during an actual global fuel price spike. The resulting traffic chaos paralyzed local roads, blocking emergency routes and trapping residents in gridlock. One stranded local noted, "They're causing misery for thousands of people. While trying to promote a game about fuel, they've brought the real-world fuel supply to a standstill." The irony was palpable. EA successfully recreated the game's oil-related chaos in real life, just without the mercenaries or explosions, thankfully. Though given how angry some drivers were, the explosions weren't entirely off the table. Lesson learned: if your marketing stunt has the potential to disrupt critical infrastructure, perhaps reconsider. Not all publicity is good publicity, especially when it involves ambulances unable to reach hospitals. From disrupting traffic to disturbing social norms, our next marketing failure shows that if there's one circle of marketing hell reserved for tone-deaf promotions, EA earned their place there with this next gem. Dante's Inferno's Sin to Win Comic-Con Contest, 2010. Dante's Inferno was EA's attempt to compete directly with Sony's successful God of War franchise. Both featured angry protagonists fighting through mythological settings with over-the-top violence. The difference: God of War had established itself over multiple successful titles, while Dante's Inferno was a newcomer trying to break into the market. For those who didn't play it, Dante's Inferno loosely adapted Dante Alighieri's 14th century poem, The Divine Comedy, reimagining Dante as a crusader knight who literally sews a cross into his chest and battles through the 9 circles of hell to rescue his beloved Beatrice. It's about as faithful to the source material as making a game where Shakespeare's Hamlet is an alien bounty hunter with a talking skull sidekick. This was 2010, when social media marketing was still in its experimental phase. Companies were just beginning to understand hashtags and viral campaigns, often with clumsy, tone-deaf execution. It was also a time when the gaming industry was facing increased criticism for its treatment of women, both in games and at industry events. EA's Dante's Inferno campaign could fill an entire video by itself. The marketing was structured around the 7 deadly sins featured in the game, with different promotions for each sin. For the lust portion of this 7 deadly sins promotion, they invited Comic-Con attendees to commit acts of lust with booth babes, take photos, and share them on Twitter with the hashtag lust. The grand prize: a night with the hottest girl at Comic-Con, dinner, booty, and more. Yes, booty was the actual word used, leaving everyone wondering exactly what line item in EA's marketing budget covered prostitution services. Sarcastic, EA later clarified this meant treasure and a sinful night just meant a nice dinner. The core problem wasn't just the objectification of women. It was the stunningly tone-deaf approach to a convention that was actively trying to address its problematic history with booth babes and create a more inclusive environment. EA essentially burst in yelling, "Who wants to objectify women for video game prices?" during gaming's painful growth moment. Lesson learned: using sexism as a marketing strategy is about as forward-thinking as releasing your game on punch cards. Maybe consult someone who isn't a frat boy from 1985 before finalizing your marketing plan. Aftermath: EA's senior product manager apologized, but the damage was done. Interestingly, despite the controversy, the game sold moderately well but received mixed reviews and never got a sequel, proof that even controversy can't save a mediocre product. But if you thought objectifying women was bad, wait until you see what happens when marketing teams start eyeing the deceased. Let's head back a few years earlier to a promotion that literally tried to take gaming advertising to the grave. Shadow Man, Second Coming's Headstone Advertising 2002. Shadow Man: Second Coming was a PS2 sequel to a moody, supernatural action game originally released on Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast. The game follows Michael Leroy, a character who travels between the worlds of the living and the dead to battle supernatural threats. It was about as niche as you could get, which perhaps explains the desperate marketing approach. Acclaim offered to subsidize funeral costs for families willing to put Shadow Man, Second Coming advertisements on their loved ones' headstones. They called this deadvertising because nothing says respect for the deceased quite like turning grandma's final resting place into a PlayStation 2 billboard. Acclaim's marketing director explained with a straight face that this provided a permanent presence for our advertising. Yes, that's what grieving families want, your game logo keeping eternal watch over their departed relatives. The Church of England immediately condemned the proposal, blocking it from all their graveyards. Even British bureaucracy, not known for its speed, rapidly moved to prevent this campaign from desecrating any cemeteries. Lesson learned: maybe avoid marketing tactics that involve exploiting the grieving process, just spitballing here. From the world of the dead to the criminal underworld, our next marketing disaster shows that sometimes promotional items cross the line from questionable taste to actual illegality. Forget digital crime. This next stunt ventured into real-world felony territory. Godfather 2's illegal weapon distribution, 2009. EA's The Godfather 2 adapted the famous crime film into an open-world action game where players rise through the ranks of a mafia family. It expanded on the first game by adding strategy elements where you managed your criminal empire. To promote the game, EA's promotional packages included brass knuckles, actual metal ones, not plastic replicas, mailed directly to games journalists. This created the unique situation where EA was potentially facilitating felonies across multiple state lines, as brass knuckles are illegal in many states. One journalist helpfully pointed this out, causing EA to frantically recall the weapons. The company declined to comment, presumably because "we accidentally committed federal weapons distribution crimes" isn't something the PR department was prepared to address. If you're wondering, was this worth it? I should note that the Godfather 2 game was largely forgotten, unlike EA's accidental foray into illegal weapons trafficking. Lesson learned: If your promotional item could be classified as evidence in a criminal trial, maybe go with a coffee mug instead. Distributing illegal weapons is certainly one way to get attention, but sometimes all it takes is a few choice words to create a marketing disaster that echoes through gaming history. Let's rewind to the dawn of the millennium, when one of gaming's biggest names learned that ego and advertising make for a toxic combination. Daikatana's John Romero is about to make you his bitch, 2000. The late 1990s into 2000 was the era of the rock star game developer, when individual creators could become bigger than the studios they worked for. This was before corporate PR departments tightly controlled developer communications, allowing personalities to flourish, for better or worse. It was also a time when gaming was primarily marketed to young males with edgy, often juvenile advertising. For non-gamers, John Romero was gaming industry royalty, one of the key minds behind Doom and Quake, two of the most influential first-person shooters ever made. These games defined a genre that still dominates today with titles like Call of Duty and Apex Legends. Daikatana was positioned to be a groundbreaking first-person shooter in an era when the genre was just hitting its stride. After the success of games like Doom and Quake, expectations were astronomical. Romero, fresh off success at id Software, was developing Daikatana at his new company Iron Storm, which had secured massive funding and an expensive penthouse office in Dallas. The gaming press covered every development detail, building Daikatana into one of the most hyped games of its time. The marketing team created a full-page magazine ad with blood-red text on a black background stating simply, "John Romero is about to make you his bitch. Suck it down." The ad contained zero information about the game, no screenshots, and no release date, just the promise of a non-consensual relationship with a game developer. Romero later clarified he didn't create the ad but approved it after being told not to be a pussy by a colleague. After multiple delays, Daikatana released to poor reviews, transforming the aggressive ad from bold statement to unintentional comedy. The game was such a notorious flop that even today, 24 years later, Daikatana is still shorthand for overhyped gaming disaster, the Fire Festival of video games. Lesson learned. If your marketing is making a promise about the quality of your game, maybe make sure the game is actually good first. Also, don't threaten your customers. It's marketing 101 right after don't send people weapons. Aftermath. Romero has since apologized repeatedly for the ad, calling it absolutely horrible and a big mistake. Iron Storm closed in 2001, and the Daikatana debacle serves as a cautionary tale in gaming history about the dangers of hype and ego. Speaking of hell, which is where the Daikatana marketing team probably ended up, it's time to revisit our friend Dante's Inferno. Apparently, one disastrous marketing campaign wasn't enough for EA, who decided that if they couldn't create a hit game, they'd at least create some fake outrage. Dante's Inferno's fake Christian protests, 2010. Back to Dante's Inferno, told you they deserved their own video. EA hired actors to pose as religious protesters outside E3, carrying signs with messages like EA equals electronic antichrist, and hell is not a game. The intent was to generate controversy around their game based on Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Instead, it generated eye rolls from actual religious groups who felt mocked and journalists who immediately recognized the fake protesters. EA even created a fake protest website, www.whereasaved.org, proving they were willing to invest significant resources in something phenomenally stupid. The campaign backfired when real religious groups pointed out they had legitimate concerns about the game's content, but now couldn't express them without appearing to be part of EA's marketing stunt. Think about it, they paid actors to pretend to be offended by their game, essentially creating manufactured outrage. It's like paying someone to pretend to hate your birthday party so you can look popular. Genuinely bizarre. Lesson learned. Creating fake controversy just makes you look desperate. It's the marketing equivalent of writing yourself a Valentine's card. From manufactured outrage, we moved to manufactured harassment. As social media became an increasingly important marketing channel, game publishers rushed to create viral content without fully considering the implications. Our next disaster shows what happens when a game about professional assassination gets a little too personal. Hitman Absolution's Cyberbully Your Friends app, 2012. The Hitman series follows Agent 47, a genetically enhanced assassin who eliminates targets with methodical precision. The games reward stealth and careful planning rather than all-out violence. Hitman: Absolution was the fifth main installment that tried to make the series more accessible to newcomers. Square Enix created a Facebook app allowing users to put a hit on their friends by identifying them through personal attributes, including her small breast and her muffin top. These virtual assassination requests would be delivered to the target friend with a personalized video of Agent 47 shooting them. So to recap, they created a tool explicitly designed for cyberbullying and body shaming, attached to a franchise about a professional killer. The app lasted mere hours before being pulled amid widespread criticism, with Square Enix issuing an apology that roughly translated to, "We somehow didn't realize creating a harassment simulator might be problematic." What makes this especially ironic is that the Hitman games themselves emphasize professionalism and discourage reckless violence, qualities completely absent from this marketing campaign. Lesson learned: maybe don't create tools specifically designed to harass people, just a thought. From targeting your friends with virtual assassination, we move to targeting something even more precious: your child's future. While most marketing campaigns aim for short-term impact, our next disaster shows that some publishers were thinking much more long-term, with consequences that will literally last a lifetime. Skyrim's baby naming contest, 2011. The Elder Scrolls V. Skyrim was poised to be one of the biggest releases in gaming history. The previous entry, Oblivion, had helped define open-world RPGs on the previous console generation, and anticipation for Skyrim was immense. Bethesda was no longer just a respected RPG developer, they had become one of the industry's powerhouses. For the uninitiated, Skyrim is an open-world fantasy role-playing game where you play as the Dragonborn, Dovahkiin in the game's dragon language, a hero with the ability to absorb dragon souls and use their power. It's known for its vast world, countless side quests, and the ability to put buckets on shopkeepers' heads so you can steal all their inventory. You know, fantasy stuff. By 2011, gaming had achieved mainstream cultural relevance, with references appearing throughout pop culture. The release date of 11/11/11 was chosen specifically for its memorability, showing how gaming launches had evolved into cultural events comparable to major film premieres. Social media was now a dominant marketing channel, and companies were constantly seeking viral stunts that would spread organically online. In this environment, Bethesda offered free Bethesda games for life to parents who named their child Dovahkiin, the dragonborn protagonist of Skyrim, if born on the game's release date, 11/11/11. This came at a time when unusual baby names were trending, and companies were increasingly attempting to integrate their brands into significant life events. Remarkably, someone actually did this. A couple named their son Dovahkiin Tom Kellermeyer, sacrificing their child's future job prospects for a lifetime supply of Bethesda games, which, given their release schedule, amounted to approximately 37 versions of Skyrim across various platforms. That child is now entering middle school, where I'm sure having a name from a video game is going tremendously well. For reference, what Bethesda essentially purchased was the right to subject a human being to a lifetime of. No, it's spelled Dovahkiin. No, it's not foreign, it's from a video game. No, my parents weren't on drugs, just desperate for free entertainment. Would you have named your child after a video game character for free games for life? Thoughtful pause. Keep in mind, this was before subscription services like Game Pass, so the value proposition was higher than it would be today. Lesson learned. Maybe don't encourage people to make permanent life-altering decisions for temporary marketing value. On the bright side, at least they didn't suggest naming a child The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim Special Edition for Nintendo Switch. Aftermath? Interestingly, the family has remained somewhat private over the years, though they reportedly received all the promised games. Bethesda has never repeated this promotion for subsequent releases, probably for the best. If you thought sacrificing your child's name for free games was extreme, what about changing your own? While Bethesda at least found one willing family, our next marketing disaster couldn't even manage that, despite claims to the contrary. Turok's Adult Name Change Contest, 2002. Turok is a series about a Native American warrior who fights dinosaurs with advanced weapons, essentially Jurassic Park, if the park rangers had rocket launchers. The original games were popular on Nintendo 64, but by 2002, the series was struggling to stay relevant. Acclaim offered £500 and an Xbox to 5 people willing to legally change their names to Turok for 1 year. They claimed 65,000 people applied for the honor of being named after the dinosaur-hunting Native American protagonist. A 2020 investigation revealed all 5 winners were actually actors, meaning nobody actually went through with this. Even more embarrassing for Acclaim, they couldn't find 5 people willing to be called Turok for £500, despite claiming tens of thousands had applied. Lesson learned. If your marketing requires people to sacrifice their identity, you might be overestimating how much people care about your dinosaur hunting simulator. Now, some of these might interest you, some might give you a chuckle. But as we reach the final stretch of our marketing hall of shame, we find ourselves entering truly bizarre territory. Just when you thought gaming promotions couldn't get any more reckless, we encounter campaigns that moved beyond questionable taste into actively encouraging criminal behavior. Burnout 2 Speeding Ticket Refund, 2003. Burnout 2, Point of Impact is a racing game known for its high-speed crashes and emphasis on dangerous driving. Unlike simulation racers that reward careful cornering and precise braking, Burnout rewards players for near misses with traffic and spectacular wrecks. It's essentially the gaming equivalent of a Michael Bay movie, all explosions, no physics. Acclaim announced they would pay the speeding tickets of anyone caught driving too fast on Burnout 2's release day, because nothing promotes responsible gaming like encouraging actual traffic violations. Government officials were understandably concerned about a campaign explicitly incentivizing dangerous driving. Acclaim eventually backed down, possibly after their legal department sobered up and explained the concept of accessory to vehicular manslaughter. This would be like promoting a Call of Duty game by offering to bail players out of jail if they got arrested for real-world shooting sprees. The disconnect between virtual entertainment and real-world consequences couldn't be more glaring. Lesson learned. Don't incentivize criminal behavior to sell products that simulate criminal behavior. That's just criminal marketing 101. Verdua Tennis 2's Pigeon Graffiti, 2003. Verdua Tennis 2 was a Sega arcade tennis game known for its accessible gameplay and minigames. It was essentially Wii Sports Tennis before Wii Sports existed. In perhaps the most baffling campaign on this list, Acclaim proposed spray-painting pigeons with the Verdua Tennis 2 logo and releasing them to disrupt Wimbledon. Not a metaphor, actual birds, actually painted, actually set loose at tennis's most prestigious event. The most mind-boggling aspect wasn't the animal cruelty or potential criminal trespassing. It was that Verdua Tennis 2 had already been out for 2 years when they proposed this. They were considering animal abuse to promote a game that was practically retro at that point. Thankfully, British authorities blocked this feathered invasion before it began, sparing both innocent pigeons and tennis spectators from being bombarded by living billboards. I imagine the internal marketing meeting went something like this: so we need to promote Verdua Tennis 2. What about traditional advertising? Too boring. What about a tournament for fans? Too expected. What about bird crimes? Jenkins, you're a marketing genius. Lesson learned. If your marketing plan would make PETA protest outside your office, maybe reconsider your approach. Also, never let Acclaim near animals of any kind.